Tēnā koutou rā e whakarongo mai nei ki te korimako o Taranaki, ki tēnei o ngā hōtaka o Koniahi Kōrero. Tērā pēr kei te mātakitaki mai koe, ki runga i tēnei pāpā o mata ora, ki runga i pukamata, ana kei te mii atu ki koutou katoa. Ko wai kei taku taa i tēnei rā, ko whaine Cushla Close. Ui mai ki taku taa nei, nā reira, e whaine Cushla, he rau e te kite i a koe, me tō kanoi a tāua, ka tuku te rākau ki a koe, kia whakamohio atu ki te katoa, ko wai koe aua āhuatanga katoa e pā ana ki tō ao me ki. Kei a koe, tēnā koe whaia.
Tuku mihi ki a koe, Te Aorangi, te tuatahi, kei reira hoki ki o koutou pukumahi, i wainganui o tātou, ia rā, ia wā, e kitea au tō mahi, te tuatahi i wainganui te urutā, he mau mea, he rere ki rawa tō kaupapa i reira, ko te rangahau, ai, hangarua, katoa, ai, ko wai au, te tuatahi, ka hiahi ana te tukumihi ki te ao. Mai paranini ki wai tōtara ki tai pake. Koia te tino kaupapa he hiahi ana te kōrero atu, awai, ko wai, au ko Cushla Close tōku ingoa. Ko ai te uri o ngā wānau Luke, ko Vaini rau ko Parata, ai, taho taku pāpā, taho taku māma, ko te wānau Malcolm, ai, ko ane. Ko Malcolm, and ko Raimapaha Mispa Pāmuka, tōku kuia i reira. Ai, kānui, tēnā tātou.
Tēnā koe whai Cush. Man, it's good to see you, whai Cush, actually. I haven't seen you for a long time, and here we are catching up on the internet in level 3 lockdown. And e te whānau, for those of you who are watching, you might be thinking, okay, where is Cushla right now? Well, of course, she's at the kura. Te kura kaupapa Māori o Ngāti Roanui, because they have opened their doors to the tamariki whose parents are essential workers. And straight into level 4, they were into it off the bat. Whānau karakia, everyone in on it, morning and night, and here they are still taking care of the tamariki and the whānau who go to their kura, and you all know I love kura kaupapa Māori, so it's just wonderful to be talking to you today, Whai Cush. So Whai Cush, man, like what you and I could talk about. A million things, actually. But thanks for the mihi in regards to the masks. The recycling. So Whai Cush is actually one person who we know for sure has, when we're talking about Maramataka, when we're talking about Marakai, she's someone who does all of this. And so when we're thinking of, okay, who's someone who we can talk to, who's local in our own rohe, who lives a lot by the Maramataka, and she grows her own kai, and she is into the recycle, reuse, reduce kaupapa, whai?
Yes, I am.
She is one to go to. So, Whai Cush, tell just first off, tell me a little bit about your upbringing, and then we'll get to a place where we start to understand who you are today.
Aye. So te tuatahi, you know, there's truth in that kōrero about you are what you eat, and you are who you are because of the people who surround you. So in my upbringing, my kuia on my papa's side, she grew big, huge mara, you know, kai, in and out, like my dad was brought up on Glen Road. They had a whānau whare there called Te Rurupōpō, and i reiro hoki during those times, everything was growing, everything was made from scratch. That's how they lived their life. And I suppose as we grew up, when we were all born, because there's 7 of us in our whānau, and I'm in the middle, our papa was that kind of man. He grew, he took us out to the awa, out to the moana, ka tuku atu ki te ao, hea te rā momo. He used the Maramataka Māori during that time, unbeknown to me. you're just part of a kaupapa. That's what you do. Papa says, kei reira hoki, haere tōtaki I reira. So that's how we were brought up, our whole whānau, my brothers, my siblings, all of my cousins, when they came back to Taranaki, my papa was the guy that took us everywhere. Gather food, pick puha, kainoa, know exactly where to go and get it from. So I think that's where the passion came from. And I just want to make a quick kōrero about recycling. Yeah, I'm such a recycle freak that my tuakana calls me a hoarder. Yeah, I am a hoarder, and I admit it, but I've gotten better, and I think she's proud of me, really proud of me. Oh, fire, yeah. I'm the biggest hoarder in our whole whānau. I think I take that. I'm a bit like my Clea. Yeah, hoard everything.
You take the crown.
Oh, yeah. No, I love it.
Just touching on that, because I remember a comment, not a comment, but I remember something that Whai Cheryl said when we were walking up the beach when the Parawa had stranded.
Right. Yep.
And you, myself, Dinah and Kati, we were doing that big walk, and your tuakana, she said that you were the son that your father always wanted.
Look at that. Yeah. I was the son that my father always wanted. Mōhio au, he hanga crooks and cranny, hoki ai. Yeah, from the welder, I've helped weld stuff together because my dad's an engineer. I can still do that. I know the arc welder from the back of my hand to the whatever. I've made a few trailers, fixed a heap of cars. Ana. Koe te tino kōrero taku tuakana. She knows. You name it, I've done it.
There you go.
Yeah. So I should have been an engineer if really.
Well, here you are. I mean, I think you're doing an important job also. Engineering would have been fabulous, obviously. However, your job is a pāko. Yes, you are all teachers. However, I think your job is a bit more extensive than that, especially within Te Ao Matua and Kura Kaupapa Māori. The outlook is very different. What is it like for you as a kaiako, pauako at Kura Kaupapa Māori?
Well, I have to be really honest with you, because I've worked here for 21 years at Ngāti Ruanui, had different pōtai. My tuakana anō, ka tono atu e ki au, ta uru ki roto, and our tuakana, aren't they amazing? So, ka kōrero e ki au, so, kei taka te whare, so I was in a Catholic kura. My babies all were brought up in a Catholic kura, and I was a kaiawhine I reira, teaching te reo, as much as you could give out to tell Parawa, I can say that. And she tono to me, and I've been here for 21 years, but I've had different pōtai. Amazing kaitiaki alongside myself as I've grown into my role. And I've had many roles here, as you know.
Yes.
Many roles. And for me, they're not challenges. It's what you do. You just do it, because if you don't do it, who is going to do it? My passion is for the kids that come in front of me. Didn't realise that I was like that. I mean, I've got 4 babies of my own. My baby's 26. My eldest is turning 35. I have 9 mokopuna, and they're all amazing. But for myself, I never thought that I'd be sitting here today and talking Te Kore Mako with you. How about that one?
And yet here you are imparting your wisdom, and it is wisdom and it is knowledge, because it's experience, right? You've had the way that you live today, and we will dive into it, the Maramataka and your mahi mara. The way that you live today is informed by the experience, like you've just said, from your father and him. Taking you to all of these places, teaching you how to weld. I mean, you can whack up a trailer, you can fix a car. So it's quite balanced, really. You've got that side, and then you've got the Maramataka, and you've got your mahinga kai. Now, and you're a teacher. Where do you fit all of this in your day? How does this work for you?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I just think, we talk about Maori, ki runga, ki raro, ki roto, ki waho. Well, where I'm coming from, the older you get, the more the environment, you just become part of the environment. You just slot in. That's how I have it. That's how I feel about it. You are where you are because you're meant to be there. Koe rā te tino kaupapa. And in my, at this time of my life, I think somewhere along the way, I'll have a wātea. I don't know when. Probably when I'm 80. You can't. When you've got the energy, you've got to keep going, fine. You can't stop.
Thank you. So it's actually it is a deeper outlook on what Maramataka is, because we think often, and hey, it is this for some people, because if you're starting in your journey, it is what it is. And nowadays you get given the Maramataka on a piece of paper. You can read it with everything that goes with it. I'm sure when you were growing up, there was none of that going on. But it is deeper than that, in the sense that what you're saying is you become it, and this is what we need to be in regards to te tai ao, really. Hey, would you agree with that?
I agree with it, because it is, and it's all about it's everything about you. They talk about te tuakuri, they talk about that all the time, but what does that look like in perspective to what it is that you are as a person? So the environment determines, what's going to happen tomorrow, how you're feeling, how much knowledge you have about what surrounds you. That in itself, if you don't understand the wāhanga, e atau, if you don't understand what's happening with the ozone layer, if you don't understand, by looking outside, how te tino take kei reira hoki, if you don't understand all of the signs and all of the tohu that are out there, especially today, I don't know, I don't feel sorry for you if you don't. What I feel is that haere tonu, tirohia kimi hia, rapu hia te kaupapa e tuhi atu. Try and find yourself. But I think in order for you to become one with that, you just need to be you, be you. Don't let people dictate to you. Just do what makes you feel, and become the person that you are. Koera, that's what I think.
And so that's quite a simple instruction at the end of the day, but it's an instruction that many people struggle with, just being you. You're starting out your journey and how to grow kai and stuff like that. I talked with Mari Gregory Hunt the other day. She said exactly what you're saying, basically, is that let's not get caught up in a hype of what we think it needs to look like, and let's just do it and give it a go.
Yeah. And you know what? No one's a failure. Nobody. Because anyone that has a go at anything, you have already succeeded. Doesn't matter if you think you don't have green fingers, or you think you couldn't even grow anything in your life, only weeds. Well, you're still accomplishing something, because it's still tai ao, because you still have to whakapiki, you still have to whakapai. So, your hands are busy. Whether or not you have got the gift to grow, whether you have the gift to be able to clean up, or, just have one little thing in your mind. Get up every morning and think, right, I'm going to achieve that one thing. Mate, you have won. And I think that's what a lot of our tauira, a lot of our people, they forget. They forget. They're too hung up on pūtea, too hung up on having the flashiest house, too hung up on being better than the next person. And they need to start thinking about what about my tupuna? How was I brought up? And then sometimes that can be a raru, if you haven't had the guidance, he raru anō. But then you make your own happiness. You have to, especially when mokopuna come along, whai. Whoa, he rere ki anō. That's a different world altogether.
So tell me about it.
Well, so my eldest moko, he just turned 10 this year. All right. He's the light of our lives, all of our lives. So he was like sport rotten, and he still is today. All right. He's amazing. He he's just all of that wrapped up in cheese. Love him from the to the moon and back. But in saying that, for every mokopuna that's come after him, I have the same aroha. But how we treat our mokopuna is different, and everyone needs to admit it. But you have a different mauri for each mokopuna that you have, and that's what I'm like as a kaiako. For every student that comes in front of me, I have a different mauri for them. Whatever they give to me, I tono back. You know, and it's the same with your mokopuna. How you treat your mokopuna is how you love to hope that other people treat your children. You know, and that's how I was brought up. My mum, oh, she's a tough cookie. She's amazing, but she's a tough cookie. That's where we got our kaha from, because our dad's real soft. Our dad is really soft on all of this. But our mum, she's like wahine toa. And so that's that yin and yang balance. And you still have to have that balance brought up with yin and yang, you know? Kei runga, kei raro, all of that kaupapa. So during my time, being brought up, when I was brought up, I'll tell you, we came through those Jake Heke times, you know? You know, once the warrior times, we were brought up during those times where people hid things from people. Brought up Catholic, tūturu katorika, I am today, and I forever will be, because that who was I am, that is what I am. They are the people that I come from. My tamariki are, and I've been lucky enough to carry that on with my mokopuna. You know, so I think that's just me being a pushy nanny, mummy.
I think for you know, it's good that you've taken us to this part too, because I think that whakapono is so important for a person. Whatever the whakapono is, I think what we're seeing often now is there's a lack of whakapono within our people. It's and it's a raru. It is a raru for us because it's intrinsically within us to whakapono to something or someone. Our atua Māori, our atua, ko ia anō, ko wai atu. But the loss of any type of whakapono is where our whānau find the raru, I think. So, and yes, and we know your guys whānau staunch. Whakapono, yeah, and I think it's admirable, and also that you've been able to carry on that sort of whakapono with your mokopuna as well. To carry on having that influence, you know, and then also being Te Ao Māori. Beautiful.
Wow.
E mihi ana. And so how did that, yeah, Heidi.
No, how did that come about? Are you trying to?
No. Not how does that come about? Just how does it look like for you with your whānau? Because it's a community at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is a community, and you know, the more people you lose in your whānau, the more apt that you are to hono back to what made us a whānau. You know, especially our Luke whānau, our katorikatanga, our not just that, and ka whakawiti ki araukuku, he Māori mai anō. So, you know, we've had that balance of Pākehā and Māori, the worlds, of both worlds, been brought up. But I'll tell you what, during all this time and right up until this day, it's the love that you remember. That's what you keep hold of from all the nannies, all the kokos, all the aunties and uncles, all your whanaunga and all your cousins that you have been lucky enough to be part of their lives. If, you know, anything else gets thrown out of your world, love is that ngākau for who you are and your people, you know, whether they live ki Tāwāhi or down the road or, you know, wherever they live, as long as they know that you are there for them, you know, that's whakapono on its own. Love, you know, aroha, tētahi ki tētahi. Ai.
Your messages are pretty simple, really. It's about being yourself. Aroha is whakapono. That's a beautiful message for people to really take a hold of, because again, it simplifies things. Yeah, you know, you don't actually, and giving everything a go Doesn't matter if you
Yeah,
get it wrong. What you're saying is if you walked outside, you won today, you
yeah,
know.
you do.
And that's another thing that Mari touched on the other day too, was she doesn't have to be out in the ngahere to harvest. She
No,
just is out in the ngahere. Would you agree with that?
I do. Because, sometimes in your life, not to harvest, but sometimes you just have to get out there. In the last couple of days, I didn't want to leave my doors because when I looked outside, all I could see was like poritanga. The art, huarere wasn't for me. I wasn't part of the environment, so I stayed indoors. Those are the sorts of things that happen. I just stayed
Yeah.
indoors, did what I wanted to do, partied around, and next minute it's the next day. Hey,
And you're out there.
yeah,
I
wow,
mean, I would just hope that, because I try to think of what might a person get out of these kōrero, and what I'm hoping, and I think it's quite clear, is that what you're saying is you have to start really trusting yourself,
yeah,
to get to know your own maramataka.
yeah,
Ne?
you sure do. Yep, you do, and it does trickle into you. Doesn't matter what happens, your environment, the environment that you put yourself into, and it is like a Charmolian, eh? You have to be real. You know how Charmolians, whatever colour they go into, that's their modi. And that's the same thing. That's how I feel. Whatever environment I walk into, you either know whether you are welcome or whether you're not welcome. You know when to back off and you know when to just leave, or you
Mm.
know when to go in and be the haumaru and be the kaitiaki. So that in itself is Maramataka Māori. That is all about who we are. And if you want to talk about our atua Māori, yeah, it's really, as a Māori in this day and age, our whakaaro rangatira is very different to possibly what our tupuna thought about it, because that's all they lived, the environment. That's all they lived. We've been brought up in a colonised way. We've been introduced to, kaupapa, thoughts that have been put into our minds, all of that sort of stuff. And I never thought I'd be that kind of person to reflect that way, because I always think the best of anybody. I always try to find the best in somebody, no matter how kino or heiaha, I always find out why. I'm always asking why. Why did that happen? Has to be a reason. You don't all of a sudden turn out to be a certain way because, there are other influences around you that have made you become that person or that way.
Mm.
Heiaha. And yeah, for the many years that I've been on this earth now, I've experienced a whole heap of stuff. But sometimes it's good to keep things to yourself and close to your heart. And there are, like I said to you in the beginning of this interview, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you like this. And I'm finding it absolutely amazing because, you don't give yourself enough rāua te aorangi. I'm telling you, man, you have people who think you're an amazing woman, an amazing
Oh.
lady. No, honestly, the whole lot of you. No, yeah, you're and Kati, one of my besties, Kati. She's amazing. And I honestly, sometimes I think you need to look in the mirror and think to yourself sometimes, yeah, you are who you are because you're an amazing person. Yeah. And those are the sorts of things that you try to impart to your tauira, your young ones that are in front of you. You hope that you can give the vibes off that you are caring and that you're here and you're here to awhi. You're not here to do the old, but you're here to awhi for this part of their lifetime. And that's possibly why I've become a poako so late in life. I found my niche of what I could
Yeah.
possibly do and help, and that's all environmental fire. That's an environmental kaupapa on its own. Hey.
I think what this is, what this helps people to understand, that environment isn't just like outside your door. It's everything about you. And if we don't take care of everything about you, then how can we take care of others? And I'm having a little chuckle to myself because we've had a few conversations in our short time of knowing each other on the larger spectrum of things. I think Whakapono, and I remember you saying I can't remember exactly what the kaupapa was, but you were having a little laugh about people being tired, and I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, explain that. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
You know, I remember, so when I was a little girl, our kuia, our Nanny Viney, because we were quite often at her whare and at my dad's mum's whare when they moved into Hawara, and I used to watch my nan, and she used to work from morning to night to dusk. You know, she never ever settled. She was the last one to bed, the first one up, and I used to try and get in there and, you know, say to my kuia, oh, Nan, don't you think you should have a sleep? And she goes, well, darling, she goes, there's going to be a time, then that's all I'm going to be doing. There you go. She says, I will be sleeping, darling. She says, and that's all I'll be doing. So I remember her telling me that, my kuia. She was full of so much rāua. And she was an amazing lady. But yeah, she came up with little ditties, and every now and then I hear myself telling my babies, and you know, I've come out with things like that. I come out with little qualms that my mum has said to me over the years. You know, it's a mother thing. I think it's that side of you. It's that wahine tō side. You know, that I've always, that's one thing. That's what I was giggling about by Te Aorangi, thinking about my nanny.
And that's the kaumātua wisdom. That's the tupuna wisdom, right? That you take those little wakatoki, wakatauaki, pepeha, all those little things. That's sort of like our mental health awhi, I guess. You know, and it's as simple as that. Yep, that sort of stuff. So I just, yes, whike. Whare tapawha. I just had a little chuckle, but you know, and you're talking about your mum because everyone knows your mum. And there's a reason why, because like you say, well, I mean, she's a kanohi kitea, right? As a kui now, she's a kanohi kitea. There's places where you go where you feel, oh, okay, cool. Fire Joyce is here, or someone, you know these queer who, when you go to these places, you once you see them, you're like, oh, okay, all is restored in the world, in a sense, because it is a haumaru, it is a haumarutanga, and she is, wahine toa to the core.
To the core, fucking mama,
and so she would have had a huge influence over your life, right, Whare?
Oh, of course she did. You know, mum, she was one of those, he puku mahi rawa atu, you name it, she did it. And it was all for us kids, you know, sports-wise. She was on all of our committees. She was the mother who picked up people. You know, we marched, you name it, we did it. Because mum was like, you're going to do it. You're going to try it. And if you don't like it, oh, well, too bad. You're going to complete it, you know. So I know for a fact that when I start something, I always complete it because that's what she has instilled in me. Whatever, and if you turn out for something, you make sure that you do it to the bitter end. She was like, you know, and like we weren't like wealthy or anything like that, but we had a house full of a lot of love, and like we didn't want for anything. You know, both our parents worked. We had an amazing tuakana who looked after us, our whainashira. She looked after all of us siblings until she moved away. So, yeah, the way we were brought up and the way my kids were brought up and the way my mokopuna are brought up, by kare, he rerekē, totally different to how we were brought up. And,
in what way?
Well, for us, you know, the only thing we actually still have in common is our whakapono, okay? We have all of that. But the environment and how we live and the different ideas of your partners that come into your lives, that's what I'm talking about, how they live their life, you know?
Right.
That's what the influence is. You still have that mindset. You still know what whānau is. You still have those connections with your siblings and your cousins and your especially with me, my mum and dad, you know, they're the most important people in the world to me, and my babies. And my husband, he always said, well, where am I in the pecking order? I'm like, you've done your job, darling. Okay, bye. No.
You're there.
But no,
we see you
yeah,
at
so
the
it's
marae.
really different. I'm saying what is out there is different. The times have changed. The kaupapa that we were used to having, it's not like that anymore. You know, it's progressively gotten hard and fast. All the other influences, you know, like that, like drugs and alcohol and all that sort of stuff. We had that. Don't get me wrong, we had that when we were growing up, but to the excess of how it is today, it's totally what our babies have been brought up into. It's totally in a different mode, eh? We were. That's what I'm trying to say. In our generations, it's different, very different.
So different environments again.
Environments, right? Ko te taio. Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about your dad being the one who, you know, if he was going somewhere, you were with him. I can just envision it right now. Actually, it cracks me up. And you know, so you've got your practical skills from him. I'm sure you got practical skills from your mum as well, and you've got a good work ethic from them. Another simple formula.
Pardon?
Another simple formula. Right? Hard work ethic.
Yeah, and it is. There's a lot said, and you know, you like, I'll go back to the beginning. Hey, you are what you eat. You are. You
right.
Absolutely are, aren't you? You're either going to eat it or you're not. That's simple, isn't it, for Te Aorangi?
So, yeah, and you live a pretty healthy lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
Like if we're going to get down to like the actual food that you're putting in your mouth, you live a very healthy lifestyle. So tell us a bit about that. Yeah,
I try to. So you know, oh look, when I was growing up, all I ate, like they used to call me the veggie kid. All I ate really were vegetables. You know, I loved vegetables. I wasn't a very good meat eater. I'm not a very good meat eater today either. I'll pick and choose sometimes if I think I need it, but it's only during summertime. I'll have a steak or something like that because I feel like it. Iron deficiency because I don't eat meat. You know, I'm not a meat eater, but there are other supplements out there, and I'm not talking like supplements and like pills. There are other things that I will just eat till they come out of my ears, like broccoli and puha and anything green. You know, whether it's cooked or not. So. You know, I used to annoy my I'd eat cabbage. She would be cutting up something, and I'd go in and just chuck it in my mouth, and she'd be like, you know, little things like that. But yeah, what you put into your body. I'm never smoked. Koniahi Kōrero. I'm the only one in my whole family, and my dad. Him and I, that's what we have in common. We're Koniahi Kōrero. Sports wise, mahi kina, you name it, we did it. To the best of our abilities. I mean, we weren't like amazing. Yeah, we got into taranaki teams, but we weren't like the Ardeen Wilsons and that of this world, but we did it. And we possibly could if we put our mindset to it, but that's not my modi. You know, I played sport for enjoyment. And I didn't play sport to like get into top teams and then watch my mates who didn't get in have the tangi we're still going on, you know. That put me off. That's one of the things that put me off going into playing taranaki netball and stuff like that. Just watching your friends who really wanted it passionately, you know, and I didn't want it passionately. It's just something that you are capable of doing. All my girls do the same, you know, rugby league. I let them play league, girls. Things that I wasn't allowed to play. I played rugby. No, I did play rugby when I was in my teen years with Bolshies. Yeah, I played rugby for a little while, but I got into the army fire. I was in the army before I got happy with my matamua. That's the reason I didn't carry on. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a hard chore. I mean, so I was taha, and I think I do have that militant part about me. My kids, doesn't matter what class that I have, they tell me that I'm militant the way I talk, and I just crack up laughing because that's part of my life I didn't share with them. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. If I didn't have this pathway, I would have been in, tūmatauranga, I would have been in the army.
So what took you there?
I just loved I just loved pushing myself. So at the time, in Taranaki, when I enlisted to go into the army, there was only our Hawara base shut down, and there was only a few of us that got through. There's about 30 of us, and 3 of us were girls. Yeah, and I happened to be one of them.
Far
that's
out.
the last time I don't really I forget about it, and and I go back to has to have done with something of my tomboyish ways or something. I don't know, but I was like, kaha, I loved it. I loved the challenge, and I'm still like it today. I still am.
Yeah.
I have
So,
that in me.
just the other day, I interviewed Paula, and she'd been in the Territorials too.
She went Territorials. I did regular fire. I got in.
So, well, I don't know what the difference is, but it all sounds like a lot of hard work to me.
It's hard work. You have to be at the fittest you possibly can. You've got to pass. Oh, so many things. I can't even remember now, but I worked hard and I did it. We took our tuakana. We took our tuakana from Te Urutau and that down to Wanganui a few weeks ago when we went in lockdown, and we took them to to experience the Navy, the Army, the this, the that, and then I watched what what you have to do to get in, and I absolutely scoffed. I looked at what they had to do, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And the one of the guys that was on the Army side, he turned around and said to me, oh, well, you look like a little bit of, I said, that is bad. That's not even funny.
So way easier
than how we got in.
Yeah.
I think it is, I think the old school way of our training, I think the training as you get in there is probably intense, but the actual
process of getting in.
Yeah. I looked at it, and I looked at Hare, and I looked at Rongonui, and I'm like, oh my goodness, more wharepapa in them. I'm like, really? And they gave me that look like, what do you know, fire? I said, if I could only tell you. Yeah. So I've got a lot of little crook and crannies in my whaka, in my tipu, things that I've had going. Yeah.
So when I was talking to Paula the other day, she said that she'd been in the Territorials. I said, well, if there was a zombie apocalypse, you'd be first line of defense. And now I can say to her, and Whai Cushla will be right beside you.
She'll laugh. Paula would laugh. Yeah, nah. Must be a whānau thing, eh? Must be the
obviously.
Yeah. Obviously. I'm not the only one. My cousin, like Whai Kauro, she was in the Navy.
I did know that. I did know that. Okay, I feel like our borders will be safe here in Taranaki, or at least South Taranaki.
And Paula's back, so hello.
That's right. It's all ngaruahine. We've got everyone's backs at the moment. So, if I was going to just sort of summarize what we've talked about, I think that the main message that we can take from this is it's simple living, really, right? Yeah. I mean, I watch you. You don't live an extravagant lifestyle of any sort. Hard work, grow your own kai, spend time in the mara. You look after your own environment, which enables you to look after those who come into it. Kanohi kitea, just those sorts of things. Those sorts of things are Māori nei, me ki. And then also teaching at one of our kura, and having a hand in raising, essentially, all these kids that come through this, through our kaupapa. Would that be right?
Yeah, takatai. That's absolutely. Well, see, you obviously know. No, takatai. You've summed that up really, really well. Yeah, It is. And, you know, you don't know what tomorrow brings, eh? No one
Mm.
knows. Well, they say they do. Kuriraki with that one, you know. But, yeah, you're right, Vi. So, ngā mihi, thank you for that quick squiz on, yeah, and the message that I didn't know I was giving out to the
Oh, well, koera
up.
e te iwi, koutou rā e whakarongo mai nei ki tēnei o ngā kōrero. For those of you who didn't know one little thing about Whakakush, you now know a few things, and you also know that she got into the army when the testing and the process was slightly harder than it is today, e te whānau. And a testament also to your hard work ethic that you have, and 100% a mihi to your parents and obviously your tupuna also, and to your whole whānau, because your whole whānau are kanohi ki te ao. We see you all doing the mahi. If there's a kaupapa to be done and you need the hard workers, then this is the whānau to come to, e te whānau. if you all need the contact details, just get in touch with me and I'll let you all know how to get in touch with Whakakush. She's a dab hand too on what would we call it? I don't think it's called security, but you know, at these tatarakihi, kaupapa and all of these sorts of things, if you want something running to time and you want people sitting where they need to be sitting, they are the ones to come to. Nā reira whae, tēnā koe mo tō kōrero ki Wainganui i a mātou i tēnei rā. E mihi ana ki koe o tira ki tō whānau, whānui. Ai rā, e te whānau, koutou rā e wakarongo mai nei, koutou rā e mātakitaki mai nei i tēnei pāpāho mataora, ko Te Aorangi tēnei, māua ko Whakakush, e mihi kauatu ki koutou katoa. Hei konei, hei kona.